Hello everyone. As you may know, Chiratae recently launched their Fintech report, which talks about the $1 trillion India Fintech opportunity. And since then, we've been getting some great feedback from the ecosystem around, the sort of conversations we are trying to understand and also initiate across the various verticals within Fintech. So we decided to host a series of panel discussions across each of the verticals to delve deeper into some of the topics that we've covered or tried to cover in the report, and additionally look at other interesting areas. The first session that we're going to start with today is going to be on insurance, and we have an exciting set of panelists here. Just a quick round of introductions for everyone. We have Sarbvir Singh joining us. He's the CEO of Policy Bazaar. We have Amit Ganorkar joining us. He's the COO of Tata AIG General. We then have Sachin, he's the CEO of BSC Ebix Insurance Broking. And with me is TCM Sundaram. He's the Vice Chairman and Founder at Chiratae Ventures. Thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us in this discussion today. Lastly, just about myself, I'm Avni Jain. I'm an AVP with the fund and mainly look at wealth tech and InsurTech spaces. So great to have you all here. Big welcome. As we go into this, I'd like to, first get started on understanding the growth of insurance in India and how do you think it will be affected over the next few years. Sarbvir, my first question to you is, everyone talks about the high headroom for growth that's available. But growth in insurance in India has been rather slow. Penetration has taken time to get to an average level, and it only hit so in during the COVID period. So what do you think really needs to change in the ecosystem so that, this penetration that everybody talks about, which has a lot of potential to grow, gets actually realized?
So, Avni, first, thanks to you and TCM for hosting this panel and for inviting me. I'm very, very happy to be here. I think the question, that you asked is a billion or maybe $1 trillion question. I mean, it is finally, everybody knows that India in the long run will be a very large market for insurance as well as for other products. But clearly, we are making our way there. So I think there are 2 or 3 ways to look at it. One is that you have to look at it from a macro perspective. So which is that the development of the country will drive the development of insurance as well. So that is per capita incomes, that is, urbanization, the growth of nuclear families. So as all these factors, which we are all aware of, are taking root, right? Insurance is increasing. So the challenge with India is that India, while being one geographical country, is actually comprised of very different countries in the middle. I mean, there is, famously, as people say, there is a Switzerland in India, and then there is, probably sub-Saharan Africa also in India. So I think you have to look at each of those separately. And what we find is that as people reach certain income levels, their demand for insurance goes up. And they need to protect. See, finally, what is insurance? Insurance is protecting yourself from low probability but high impact events, right? And that starts to matter when you have something to protect. I mean, very simply put. And as that happens, you find that people start caring more about it, whether it's term insurance for their family's lifestyle, whether it's health insurance, whether, there are other forms of insurance which are very big in the world, which are not very present in India. For instance, home insurance or renter's insurance, which are very big categories abroad, but are slowly, gaining traction. So I think the first point is the macro stuff. I think we have to be patient. I would say in India takes patience, right? The winners will be the patient ones. So macro is evolving, as every few years. I mean, there may be ups and downs, but every 2-3 years we make a significant progress. The second thing is then comes to the industry specific factors. And I think there the single biggest factor, if I would say, is trust. The issue with insurance from a consumer perspective is trust. I am paying you for something which will happen in the future. And that is a very big deal. And we are famously a low trust society. So, for the Indian customer, you have to keep explaining that no, your claim will not be denied. The company will not come up with some story at the last minute to not pay you. So I think that trust has to be built, and with trust is awareness. So if you see the history of Policy Bazaar, over the last 14 years, we have invested, I believe, something in the range of 2,000 crores or more, which is to just talk about why you should buy term insurance, why you should buy health insurance. We are not saying only come to Policy Bazaar. So if you see our advertising, it's not about us as much as it is about what will happen if you don't have health or term insurance. So I think that awareness building is something that, no amount of money that can be invested is too little. So I think awareness building and trust, those are the two things that the industry needs to, I would say, focus on. And then, the country is also moving in the right direction. There is whole digital, we've had a silent revolution, or I don't know, depending on how you want to look at it. It's an amazing thing that's happened. 700 million Indians have, broadband or mobile broadband access and smartphones, etc. So I think that there's a lot to be optimistic about. But yes, it's a journey. I think it will take time as we go along.
Got it. No, that's actually a very good point, because if you look at it, typically when there is not a new product, but when there is a product growth that needs to happen, there is always that awareness stage that the market will go through. So I think probably what you're trying to say, and the way I'd like to think about it is, maybe we are at that stage. Once we cross that is when the insurance penetration levels start resembling how developed economies are. That's a great point. Amit, my next question is to you. So while we are going through this awareness stage, right, do you think there are going to be certain specific types of insurance products that will see more growth versus others? And if that's the case, why so? I mean, is that going to be something that gets replicated in India like how it's done in other economies as well? Or do you think that is more an India specific thing?
Yeah, Avni. So, one is, thank you for inviting me. Good to be part of this panel, right? And coming to this specific question of how, what segments in insurance will grow. See, typically general insurance in India, or as we say, non-life insurance in India, is largely asset-based insurance, right? So you insure assets, right? And, health is also that way. It's a human asset, that we're actually insuring, right? So if I were to just kind of say that, typically the growth has followed the growth of assets. As Indians buy more vehicles, naturally insurance grows. As Indians buy more electronic goods, they buy more phones, they buy more houses, they keep buying stuff. Generally the insurance will, kind of grow as the asset grows. Right. Second dividend that we've got is the entire population dividend, right? So we are a large population, 130 crore people, etc. So obviously, health as an asset is a huge asset, right? The third, right, when there is so much production happening in India and so many goods are getting produced, right? There are going to be people who are going to be producing goods and services, right? So, there are going to be people who are going to be producing the goods that consumers are going to use, and there are going to be services which are going to support, usage of those goods, etc., goods or services, right? So obviously that sector will also grow, right? So the way I look at it is basically three buckets, for growth. One is, essentially pure consumer asset-based growth, right? For example, motor insurance, electronic insurance, insuring phones, laptops, mobiles, houses, etc. Right? That is definitely, going to be an area of growth that is already growing today, right? So even this year, if you look at it, motor insurance is, again started growing by about 20-25% as the new, vehicle sale has picked up. The second is basically health insurance, right? Health insurance is going to be an evergreen category, right? And that is again growing at about close to about 30%, I would say, on an average last year, this year. Yeah. And the third category, as we are saying, is there is bound to be some amount of growth on the SME or the corporate side as well, right? Because today there is a lot of under-insurance in that space, right? People, so for example, how is there under-insurance? People don't know that they need to take a cover for, let's say 5 risks. They are only taking cover for 3 risks, right? People don't know what is the right value of their stock, or what is the right value that they must be insuring for, right? So that will get corrected. So I think that is the third area. Apart, so I look at it also, Avni, in one more way, right? And Sarbvir is absolutely right. As awareness and trust builds up, insurance will grow. But one very different thing in India from when we talk about global, when we do like a global comparison, Avni, is when we talk of insurance density, and it is measured in, let's say, US dollars, right? So for non-life, it's about $20, right? That's very low, right? So even if you insure the entire population at $20, your industry size will still be lesser, right? And if my memory serves me right, I think the same for US is about $5,000, right? So the gap is huge. So what I'm also trying to say is that while the industry will grow because of penetration, the industry will also grow because people will discover newer risks. There will be better realization of what is the actual risk that I'm exposed to. Am I covering it properly? Am I fully covered, or am I trying to buy like the cheapest thing, or something which is barely giving me like 20-25% coverage of the risk that I'm actually exposed to. So I think overall, I also feel that as people understand the concept of insurance better, and as awareness and trust builds, average premiums will also go up. And when the average premiums go up, the density will also go up, and the industry will grow, right? I feel today the largest scope, to kind of grow the average premiums, etc., is infra, more on the SME side, right? Because there the realization of what the risk is really, really small, and maybe on the health side, because the inflation is really, the health inflation is higher than the normal inflation, right? So people quickly, before you realize, in the next 5 years you're going to be underinsured. So I also think that premiums will go up and take the overall industry up. See, number wise, I think the industry has traditionally been growing at about 2 times the GDP growth, right? So about 7-8% is the GDP growth. The industry will easily grow at about 15%.
Yeah.
Right. But within that, I think these 3 segments one should look at, right? The asset based, health, and then the SME, right? Health and SME are the newer ones. The asset base is anyways happening.
Got it. No, that's very insightful, Amit. So actually moving on in a similar direction, Sachin, would like to understand from you, what are the reasons to be optimistic about the growth proposition of insurance in India? Of course, there is this large headroom available and there is this opportunity available, but from a company standpoint, an insurer standpoint, what is it that really makes the case for India to be a great market?
Right. Thank you. Thanks, Avni, for the opportunity. And great to be here with Sarbvir and Amit talking on this platform. So, Avni, I think most of the points Sarbvir and Amit did cover, but I'll just add on to a couple of other things which I feel would basically drive the growth of the insurance industry in India. First of all, I mean, Amit did mention about the density, or let's say per person insurance spend what's there today. But if you look at it as part of the report also, which Chiratae and EY has published, and which in my previous avatar I was part of, in contributor in some way in my EY days. If you look at it, I mean, the penetration we are talking about is about 3% 2% or something on the life side, and on non-life side is just about 1%. So I think non-life side, while Amit did talk about asset-based mentality of basically insuring the assets, I think if you see primarily in non-life side, people are insuring what is basically is a compulsion to insure. Let me put it this way, right? So if you are a corporate or MSME, you are pushed by your banks to insure your stocks, insure your assets, etc., because they are the ones who are lenders, and they are basically asking you to be compliant to certain things, because they are the ones who are basically hypothecating most of the assets you have, right? And same way, if you see on the other side, I mean, whether motor, I mean, it is by the regulation, you got to be insured, whether third party or OD, whatever way it is, right? On health side also, most of the health is actually the GMC or group medical claim plans which are there, which is like large corporates, medium-sized corporates. I mean, they are all contributing to basically ensuring that the healthcare of the people, right, as a group, right? But if you see even if I pick up one industry here as a growth perspective, if you see health itself, I think the total amount of hospital bills are probably almost 20 times of the, sum assured of the, insurance which has been claimed through the health insurance. So what I'm talking about, let's say if you claim 5,000 crore, I'm just giving an example, may not be the exact numbers. If I say 5,000 crore is being paid by the health insurance companies as an insurance cover, but the total hospitalization bills are in the range of 20 to 25,000 crores, right? So practically, you can say that 95% of the hospitalization is actually coming from the people's own cost, which they have not planned for, right? Nobody plans really a hospitalization, and it then puts a lot of stress on the financials of the people, and especially in the marginalized segment, etc., who are not as literate, who are not covered by the group medical claim plans, and who are the ones basically their life gets completely changed if there is a medical incident which happens in any of the family members, right? So I would say collectively all this is happening in parallel. There is a more and more literacy, more and more education coming in. Government also pushing a lot of agenda through their own schemes, and I think change in the regulators' approach in some of these matters are also as part of that. I think insurance companies are also coming out with innovative ways to attach, embed products so that people have at least certain level of insurance. May not be full coverage, but at least some part of that, right? And I think there's a huge upside which is possible in all segments. And definitely, I think we are all here to see that going forward.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense, because from a market situation standpoint, all the input metrics, the way they need to be, they're lined up exactly like that. So I think there is a reason to believe that insurance can really, drive value within the nation and help masses across various risk areas. TCM, my next question is to you. So, of course, we've talked about what opportunities are there and what is going to drive penetration and how do we actually latch on to this headroom for growth that's available. I would like to understand from you, from an investor standpoint and perspective, which insurance areas do you think will attract maximum funding in the years to come?
Yeah. So, Avni, all three of them, Sarbvir, Amit, and Sachin, have given some very, as existing players in the industry, have given some very interesting insights. But from an investor perspective, I would say is that currently, I think one of the key challenges that we are focusing on is where is the innovation coming from? And innovation in terms of not only products, I think innovation in terms of underwriting is an area that I believe is going to be very, very important. I'll give you an example, which all of us understand. It's a highly discovered product, which is the motor insurance, right? We have a company which is in the, car maintenance space. They are in urban markets, mainly top metro markets. And 40% of the cars which come in either without an insurance policy or getting repairs done without resorting to their insurance policies, right? So this is a very, very interesting statistics. You go to two-wheeler companies, and which is something that, again, we are closely associated with one used two-wheeler company. Anywhere between 70 to 80% of two-wheelers are uninsured, right? Existing insurance. So first one, they don't have a choice except to get registration done. After that, the renewal, it drops substantially. Beyond second or third year, it goes down to like abysmally low percentage, like 10%. This is, in my mind, not only an awareness issue, it's also a pricing issue. everybody thinks that, okay, it's expensive, or they try to avoid it. If they are not, I think the awareness part is insurance is not something that you have an entitlement to only claim. It is you are protecting a asset, and it's a small premium that you pay for the unfortunate event in case anything comes up in terms of asset being at risk, right? That part of it will come through premiums as well. The product innovations in underwriting, like term insurance, has changed a lot in terms of people going in for endowment policies, which, you know, similarly, you will find different underwriting parameters in terms of pay per kilometer used, or if you're only a urban user and not a highway user, I'll charge you differently. All those innovations will increase penetration of even existing products. In addition to that, as the per capita income keeps going up, like Sarbvir said, people will discover more risks, and then new product requirements will keep coming up. Health, people are at very basic level of coverage, right? It needs to go up substantially. Life, again, the coverage to, let us say, the income of the income earning person whose life is being covered, it's a abysmally low ratio. These are all areas where I think underwriting, innovation, and pricing that will result in better pricing will lead to significant increase in the penetration of even the existing products, right? And I believe that's a big data play. And in the data play, I think it is, I mean, existing underwriters have a big advantage of existing data, whereas startups have the advantage of no baggage. So no cannibalization of existing revenue, right? So I believe that that is going to be the race towards who's going to innovate first and how quickly.
Got it. No, that's definitely an interesting point of view.